Welcome to the Private Practice Elevation Podcast. Unlike other shows about marketing and growing a private practice, only the Private Practice Elevation Podcast takes you into the peaks and valleys of successful practice owners to give you the lessons they learned and the proven strategies that you can apply to your own private practice, helping you reach the next level in your business. I'm your host, Daniel Fava.
If there's one topic I can't escape lately, it's AI. Every conversation I have with a colleague, it comes up. How are you using it? What should I be using it for? How do I get started? And honestly, a lot of therapists feel stuck, somewhere between nervous about it, overwhelmed, or just avoiding it completely. So today, we're getting practical. I sat down with Dr. Carolyn Solo, an EMDRIA-approved consultant, private practice owner, and host of the Future Template Parent podcast. Carolyn was a skeptic for a long time, but over the past year, she's built a really thoughtful, ethical way of using AI in her business for blog posts, social media, her website, even building courses. This episode is a behind-the-scenes look at exactly how she uses these tools every single week and how you can too without losing the voice that makes your practice yours. If you've been hesitant to get started, consider this your permission slip. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Xanda is practice management software built for health practitioners. It brings scheduling, telehealth, secure notes, billing, AI, and automation together in one simple system. If you're ready to make your practice management easier, visit privatepracticeelevation.com/Xanda and start your free trial today. A year from today, what would your dream private practice look like? Would you spend less time chasing claims or only working with clients who value your skill set? What if you had more time for yourself? Alma empowers you to confidently accept insurance backed by an all-in-one EHR that simplifies scheduling, documentation, and day-to-day practice operations. Your dream practice is closer than you think. To learn more about Alma and receive 2 free months, visit helloalma.com/elevation.
Well, hello, Carolyn. I'm so glad to have you on the Private Practice Elevation podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm fine and really happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for our conversation. It seems like everywhere I turn is a lot of just, discussion about AI, and was even connecting with colleagues yesterday, and it always comes up, how are you using AI, in your business? And it's exciting times. It's also like, it's one of those things where like our world is changing so rapidly. And so I know a lot of folks are likely feeling as I have, like, how do we keep up with this? What should I be using it for? Not be using it for. So I'm excited about our conversation. But before we get into how you're using AI in your businesses and in your practice, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about yourself? Give us a little background. How did you get to be doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I'm a social worker, LCSW. I live in Vermont currently, but I just moved here a couple of years ago from Philadelphia, where I lived for a long time. I have 2 businesses. I have a private practice that is, I still see clients virtually from PA, but I also have an in-person office here in Vermont. And I focus mostly on offering EMDR intensives with some IFS and ketamine therapy mixed in there. And I love in-person work, so that's a lot of fun. And it's fun to bring people to Vermont because it's a beautiful place to do intensive work. I also have a coaching business called the Future Template Parent, which is sort of EMDR focused, and it's about working with therapists to offer intensives. And I have a podcast that's all about that too. I'm also obviously a parent, hence the name. I'm a mom of 3. My daughters are 9, 7, and 4. And that's a big part of my life and why I like the intensive model, because it gives me a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I thought it would be interesting to talk about AI, both in like marketing and how do I use it in other aspects of my practice, because I know that's a big topic for the therapists in this world today, like you said, and it is changing so fast.
Yeah.
And there's ethical stuff that we run up against and all those things. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's kind of, I guess we can start at the beginning, when it comes to AI, what's your journey been,
Yeah.
and I think let's maybe start with your private practice and, how did you start using AI in your practice, and how are you using it?
Yeah, I was super skeptical for a really long time and very
Yeah.
resistant. Yeah. I would say I've really only started using AI in the past year. So I would say I'm a late adopter. I don't know about that, but because, recording sessions felt really uncomfortable for me. And that is often one of the first things we heard about AI was using AI to write your notes and your treatment plans, which tends to require recording them, the
Yeah.
sessions. And so I was very resistant to that for a long time, especially because I have some clinical specialties with really complex clients. Like I work a lot with dissociative identity disorder. So there's a lot of really complex trauma. I also work a lot with parents of neurodivergent kids because my daughter's autistic. And so there's a lot of sensitivity there. So I was like, I do not want to record my sessions. And I will say that I still do not record my sessions. But I have found there's an AI scribe for therapists that you can use where you can just dictate some of your reflections post session and
Okay.
it'll write a note for you. So you have total control over what you're saying. And there's also, they have a function, it's cool, where you can take handwritten notes, which is my preferred way of taking notes anyway. You take a picture of it, upload it, and they write a note that way. So that's currently how I'm using AI, like clinically.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I will ever feel comfortable with recording sessions fully,
Yeah.
but I will say in terms of marketing for my practice, I do use it a lot.
Yeah.
So I think we all know that SEO is a big thing for your website, right? And now there's this other element called AIO, which is sort of the AI equivalent. We've all seen when you do a Google search, now there's that AI summary, right?
Yeah.
And we know that it's probably important to be showing up in that AI summary. How do we do that, right? It's not just your website anymore that is really vital. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I don't know how in the weeds you want me to get here.
Let's as deep as you want to go. You're speaking my language right now. So
Yeah. And I'm not, I will say, I am not an expert on this. A lot of this is like stuff that I have figured out.
yeah.
And also I do have someone that I work with who's like my marketing person. And he is a total expert in this and he does a lot of this for me, but he also helps me to some of it on my own.
Yeah.
So
I think it's good. Like
Yeah.
this is kind of why I'm excited to have you on. Is like, just want to hear from like sort of the front lines of marketing for a private practice and like how you're using it. So yeah, we can get in the weeds. I'm happy to get in the weeds.
So there's a couple like really low lift things it turns out that people can do to their website to help them be more AI optimized. And maybe this is something people already know, but they might not. There's this thing on the bottom of every single page on your website. You should have a little bio of yourself, because something that the guy who does my marketing always tells me is that we're trying to move from expertise to authority when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
That clinicians, I know most of the people listening to this who are clinicians, we have expertise. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
But how do we translate that to authority? Oh, and then visibility. Right? How do we make it clear to AI that we are an authority on this topic? And then how do we make it visible?
Yeah.
So this little bio you can put at the bottom of your page, and there's like 3 lines. You say who you are, what your degrees are, what you specialize in, that you're a therapist, AI is scanning pages for that kind of information to decide that what you're sharing is of value to other people, that you're not just someone spouting this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and you can look on a lot of therapists' web pages and see if people are doing that. I mean, all kinds of web pages, because this clearly applies in a lot of contexts.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's quite easy to do. Another thing that's pretty simple is AI really likes bullet points, because what I have learned and been told is that now people are typing questions into Google as opposed to just search terms. So AI is looking for an answer to that question. So if you have bullet points that are answering these questions, they're going to see that, AI is trying to scan fast. They're going to be like, oh, great, this is exactly what I want. This answers this question that people are asking.
Right.
Because I think with SEO, we heard a lot about search terms, right? Have this term, have this. Not that that doesn't matter. It still does. But you want to be supplementing easy information that can answer questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So figuring out what are questions that people are asking, and there are ways to do that, and making sure your website is answering those questions in a way that's really easy to find. So you don't want really dense blocks of text, all this stuff.
Yeah, I actually just did a little podcast episode yesterday that was kind of on this topic, and like exactly what you're saying is like the way that people search has changed. It's especially with AI, it's more conversational. Like, hey, is there an anxiety therapist in my town? And you're kind of conversing with AI, and just the way that we phrase things when we're searching for things is different. And so, like another simple, and maybe this is something a tip you may already be ready to share, but FAQ pages and FAQs on your services have become really important because it's such an easy way to put what are those frequently asked questions that people are typing into Google related to couples therapy, related to EMDR, and then
Yep,
that helps you build some content on
totally.
that page, and the, AI can pick that up and Google can pick that up, those specific questions.
I think I have an FAQ on almost every single one of my pages now on
Yeah,
my website. Maybe not
great.
my About Me. I can't remember.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we typically we've been inserting them more into home pages for our clients, and then those service pages is where we like really drill down. And then one general FAQ page, which is more about logistics of the practice, scheduling and insurance and costs like that.
Right. And the other thing too is blogging is not dead. I know people think that it is, but you want to be optimizing your blog posts in the same way, right? You want to have those bullet points. You want to have FAQs on your blog posts.
Yeah,
And you want your blog posts to be supporting the things you're trying to say that you have expertise in.
yeah,
Right. And a handful of really solid blog posts goes a long way. I mean, certainly updating content matters too. But if you have like 8 to 10 really solid blog posts that are, filling all these criteria, that's
hmm
going to go a long way.
yeah, absolutely.
So, and all of this stuff, speaking of content, AI is very helpful.
hmm
So I, yeah, in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah,
creating that
I'm
content.
curious to hear a little bit more about like, on the marketing side, what are some of the things that you're using AI for? It sounds like
Yeah.
content creation.
Yep. So I use it for writing blogs. I use it for, creating web copy. I use it for podcasting. I
hmm
use it for drafting email pitches to brands, to podcasts. I use it for social media. I use it for
I don't
social
think so.
media a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I just type a sentence into Claude or Gemini and say,
Yeah.
come up with this. That's a
Right.
key thing, right? Authenticity matters more than ever in the age
hmm
of AI. So you
Yeah.
have to be blending those two elements, which I think
Yeah.
often gets missed, you know?
Yeah. That was exactly what I wanted to kind of dig in on, because I know that there's often a fear of just handing over all this role to AI and it's not going to sound like me. It's not going to have my voice and my personality. So, like, what are some of the steps that folks can take so that their prompts and their inputs are better, and then that reflects in the output that sounds much more like them?
So I really love using voice notes for this. I will just, if I have an idea, I'll just take the voice recorder on my phone and sort of free associate about whatever it is that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So that's my voice
hmm
and it's my ideas.
Yeah.
And then I take that and I put it into whatever I use, Claude and Gemini, but whatever people use.
hmm
And whatever thing I'm looking for, come up with some social media posts based around these themes that I'm sharing here. And
hmm
then I'll even give details. Like I want one that's like a short lip sync post to pull people in. I want one that gives more authority. I want that. And, you get some stuff and then you look at it. You don't just take it at face value and say, this is it. You look at it. Does this
Yeah.
work? You ask, I'll say, you know what? This is focusing too much on this thing that I've talked about a lot recently. I'd really like to shift the focus to this.
hmm
So you do need to be providing feedback
Yeah.
because that's going to help your strategy because you don't want to post the same thing all the time or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's going to, again, create more of that authenticity, right? Where you're bringing your perspective into it. So you never just copy paste and don't look at it. That is a huge no-no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Email list, that's the other thing I use it for, my email list, of course. And that's another great thing is you can be like, can you turn this into some Facebook posts? Can you turn it into some podcast episodes and something for my email list, right? So you can create all the different ways of sharing that content.
Yeah.
But for different, I can't think of the word, but media, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I probably spend the most time upfront on, for us, it's the podcast. That's sort of our main channel to reach folks. And so the content that goes out around that is typically the show notes, which is
Show notes too.
basically a blog post. And so, it's been so helpful to take the transcript from this from this interview, and then we run it through Claude and create the show notes from that, and and then I review that. Spend more time reviewing the show notes, because then from the show notes, then it's telling Claude create social posts, create the newsletter, and so it's kind of finding out, for me, it's finding out what's like the most important piece of content that I'm working with AI to create, because everything is going to kind of come from those show notes. And so,
Right.
and over time you get to teach AI, and it's going to
Right.
learn more about your voice, and
Exactly.
each piece is going to get better and better. And I think that that's something that just kind of comes to mind for people to know, especially if they're just starting out. If you're getting poor output, then kind of keep refining it, keep teaching it, keep adding, those notes so that it understands your voice and what you're looking for.
Yeah, something else you can do is if you already have web copy, you just copy that web copy that's you've written, dump that into whatever and say,
Yeah.
like, this is me, this is what I sound like, this is what I care about,
Yeah.
And I think something that I think about a lot too is this idea of a marketing ecosystem,
Hmm.
whether you're a private practice owner or you're doing some business type coaching or whatever, or whatever it is. And I'm a firm believer that therapists should have multiple revenue streams. But like, I think there's a lot of marketing overwhelm that therapists experience. So like, how am I supposed to do social media and an email
Yeah.
list and a website? This cuts way down on that like blank
Yeah.
page syndrome of like, oh my God, what do I say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's been a game changer for me, because I've been at this for 10 years, writing blog posts like every week, and it's just like,
Yeah.
back in the day it was, "Oh, what am I going to talk about?" and like got these general ideas for episodes, but now like you said, you can kind of just speak free form. Hey, I want to do, this is my topic for this week. Give me an outline for it. And so with my solo episodes, that's what I'll do. I'll come up with an outline and have the bullet points, be like, no, I want to talk more about this, make these points. It just gives you a nice structure, because then I can speak to that. Or if you're writing a blog post, you can expand it with your expertise, your authority, your stories, but you don't have to, like you said, have that blank page that you're staring at, which is very overwhelming.
It is. Obviously, captions for social media, it's huge for that, and
Yeah.
YouTube, whatever. And I think it makes it so much easier to like repurpose content across platforms, which if
Yeah.
you want to be, premium fee and all that stuff, I don't think a website alone cuts it anymore.
Yeah.
And I know people don't like hearing that. I mean, I think you can
Hmm.
build, if you work really hard at networking and you work really hard at your website, it is possible to have that be sufficient.
Yeah.
But who knows,
Yeah.
in the future.
Right. And I think it's important to have those multiple referral streams, whether that's networking, SEO. If you need clients quickly, then it might be Google Ads. But social media is just kind of like staying that top of mind. Like, people see you. And, you mentioned premium fees. If someone is like, I see them everywhere, you associate this sort of like, wow, that's an established business. You know, or just when the time's right, like, oh, okay, I'm going to click on that Facebook post and then finally interact with Carolyn or Daniel,
Right.
whatever business it is.
And I always tell, like, especially therapists I work with, like, I've had people reach out to me and say, I've been following you for 2 years, right?
Hmm.
And so it's been worth it to me to do that, even
Yeah.
though, and it doesn't always take 2 years, but it
Right.
can.
Yeah. Yeah. We have
But
people on our email list who will, they'll hit reply to, our weekly, here's our podcast episode type of email. And they may have been on the list for like 4 years, and then they finally respond, and they're ready to move forward.
right. And so you
It's
need
cool.
to, it's the long game for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, like with social media is with AIO, it is becoming more and more something that actually factors into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So social media does get scanned. And I think my
Hmm.
understanding is that Meta is trying to make that even a bigger thing where
Yeah.
they're like a search engine
Yeah,
or
I
what.
think so. And yeah, and like you said, it definitely comes into account. Social signals were always important, but I think now even more so, because if Google or AI is scanning a website, like, oh, this looks like I'm going to recommend this practice, but then, oh wait, there's another practice, similar services, but they've got such a big footprint. They're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, and I can see that they've been established for a while. That's a factor, and that's that authority and that expertise piece, that we talked about, for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure. And I think like a lot of therapists, and I'm sure you see this all the time, have that fear of like being seen, showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hear that. I think we've all had to work through that to some degree. And that's what it takes, I think, in this business climate to be a really successful premium fee therapist. It's
Yeah.
not optional anymore to like be able to be found
Yeah.
and for
Yeah.
people to find a lot of ways to get to know about you. That
Yeah.
matters so much, you know?
Yeah. And I think like, I mean, just the data supports that. I mean, that's what we're hearing like over and over with so many people that we're consulting with. They reach out because they're like, I had a website and it worked for 2 years and it's been fine, but now all of a sudden I'm not getting any inquiries. I'm not getting calls. It's just the landscape has changed. And I know that can be kind of scary for some people who are maybe feeling a little bit behind, but you know, it's time to level up a little bit here.
And that's why I think AI, especially for marketing, is so vital because it
Yeah.
does reduce some of that burden of work. And like,
Yeah.
sure, you could hire a copy editor. And I'm not saying that copy editors don't still provide value, but there
Yeah.
is a lot more now that you can do on your own.
Right. Right.
And, is it AI is replacing people's jobs? I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
But also like we have to stay relevant and we have to figure out how to harness these tools that however you feel about the ethics of them are
Hmm.
not going away.
Right. Yeah. It's finding how do you use these tools in your business that is, ethical and really honors, your values and how you work.
Yeah, and something else I think about with therapists too is like, therapists are all worried that AI is going to take our jobs, right?
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
talk to therapists a lot from the clinical side about like how do you offer something that does set you apart
Hmm.
that people
Yeah.
can't just, ask Chat GPT and get the answer.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
think thinking through that is a part of this whole AI conversation. Like
Hmm.
I was listening to another podcast yesterday talking about how having an in-person office now is an asset,
Yeah.
which we had kind of like done away with for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's
in the
interesting.
age of AI, people are really desperate for human connection and to know like I'm actually talking to a person who's responding to me in real time. And there is something different about sitting with someone in the same room and
Yeah.
not just on a screen.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm
Yeah.
all for the accessibility that virtual therapy provides, but, like, I do think more and more, if that's something you offer, that is an asset.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, it's back to that, like, what is the differentiator? And that's, I think, where so many small businesses are at. It's where I'm at. I'm thinking about that every day. Like, how do we provide great value for our clients? And how do we, make sure that what we're doing is strategic and not just, because people can now go to these tools and say, create a website for me, and in 10 minutes they have a website. Like, well, is that website actually strategically positioned to serve your practice? And like, how can we provide that? Yeah,
And
it's
that's
it's great because it causes you to think a little bit differently about your services and what you do.
and that is why, like, I employ he's called a fractional marketing officer. He does a ton of stuff for me. He
Hmm.
is the one keeping up on all this stuff. Like,
Yeah,
I don't have the bandwidth to do that. Certainly, I've
yeah,
learned a lot about it myself, but,
yeah.
like, I don't wanna be always Googling how do I optimize this even more?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the voice, the ideas come from me.
Hmm.
The implementation and the strategy to some degree, I am very grateful that I am very grateful that I have someone else doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to some degree, I've outsourced that because I think, it's not my job to always be up on this. It's my job to do my part,
Right.
but like experts still are going to provide a very different level of like, they're going to stay ahead of the game in a way that like I
Yeah.
don't have the bandwidth to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely need that depth. And we have a lead SEO specialist who keeps up on all the
Right.
AI, SEO, regulations and algorithms and all this stuff. And yeah. And so it's
Yeah.
just finding out like, what are the things that are essential for me to lead and drive, and what can I give to someone else?
And that's the other thing I'll say too is like that's why I think again for like a premium fee practice, niching down is more important than ever because you can do some of this other stuff faster. That
Hmm.
time you're getting back, you need to be devoting to really learning your craft and knowing how to be the best therapist you can be for this certain subset of people.
Yeah.
And again, like that's going to come through in all of your content if you have all those ideas, if you're because I can read a few articles and then do a voice note and be like, this is the current research on this.
Hmm.
This is how I think it's relevant to my clients. Can you create some social media around this for me?
Yeah.
But I'm still doing, I'm taking that time that I have
Yeah.
back
Right.
to do that work, that's my job actually.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know? And so I think yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say too, like in terms of like additional revenue streams,
Hmm.
AI is very helpful with that too.
Yeah.
Like in terms of just coming up with ideas for what could you offer?
Hmm.
Like, again, I just voice note a whole bunch of ideas down and I'm like, hey, can we come up with a couple webinar ideas that are from this? Like,
Yeah.
which really helps.
Yeah. I find it
And
really
yeah,
helpful for the like slide deck creation.
yep. Huge.
That just when
Huge.
I think about creating like slides like from scratch, I just want to go take a nap. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
But AI, like and it's helpful too. I haven't done this in a little while, but there was a webinar that I did a few months back, and that really helped me organize it and the flow of it. And I had an old webinar and then that I refined with AI. And I was like, this is way too long. Like, tell me, how many minutes do you think this presentation is going to be? And it was like, well, given the amount of slides you have talking at this speed, it sounds like you need to drop about 20 slides. I was like, oh, okay, help me do that,
Yeah. Right. Right.
and it just helps me like kind of find what was the fluff, what could I remove. So it's super helpful. It saved me so much time.
Yeah. Like I have a video course and I used Claude not too long ago to kind of optimize it. I took all the transcripts of all like 12 hours of it or whatever, put them in folders so Claude knew which one went together and was
Hmm.
like, let's optimize each module of this.
Yeah.
And it was like, shorten this part. You don't need to have that there. You say this a bunch of times in other lessons, so take it out.
Yeah.
And that was so helpful. I could have gone through like myself and done that, but that would have taken me so long and I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have done it
Yeah.
because I would have been like, I don't have the time for this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think there's so many time saving tips and ways like, I don't know. I think people are also going to feel all kinds of ways about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like, it's landing on, I think, what is like most helpful to you. And like for me,
Right.
it's taken me a little bit of time to know where it fits in and what do I want to delegate using AI. But it's gradual, but it's saving me a ton of time. And I think my last question for you, Carolyn, as we kind of wrap up our conversation is, for folks who have maybe only used ChatGPT to ask it a question or give me some ideas for a blog post, what's a way that you can encourage people to like get started today, beyond just asking
Yeah.
a question? Like, is there like a small project that you would encourage people to get started with?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly if you haven't been optimizing your website, you need to do that. That's like the number one thing. But like, I would just encourage you to start, like most therapists have a website at this point. Like if they don't, that's a whole other problem that we're not going to talk about now. But just take all the content that's on your website and dump it into whatever chat platform you like to use.
Mm-hmm.
And just ask ChatGPT or whoever, like, what are some blog post ideas that come up? What are some ideas for my email list? Just like ask it to come up with some things that you could use your voice
Yeah.
to like some low lift things. It's going to be low lift.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that you do that, like you said, the more they're going to like the chatbot's going to know you and what you do. I always say if you have transcripts of anything, like if you were on a podcast or you did an interview, dump that in there. That is gold.
Yeah.
I think too for things like, what's the word? Like testimonials for whatever it is. And I know like we don't do testimonials for therapy and all that stuff, but like if it's for other things, like mine those transcripts, they're going to find little quotes for you that are like so helpful.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say too is like be conscious of your marketing ecosystem. That is you're gonna need, like we all have to build that out, and these chat things are giving us ways to do that don't take as much time. Something else that's huge in terms of building an email list. If people aren't doing that, do all that stuff and say, what's a good freebie that I could offer based on this stuff?
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
structure it? Because that is the way to get people on your email list.
Yeah.
And
like
again, I feel
starting
like,
with that, like you said, like have it comb your website, what you're already talking about, especially if you've got blog posts and things that you've taught, like AI can just help you just synthesize all that together into a great PDF that could be a great freebie to build that email list.
and the voice note. I'm a huge fan of using the audio recording.
Yeah.
If you're more comfortable typing, just free associate just like type whatever comes to mind. Plop that in there because that's going to add that part where it's your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And always edit it. Please don't just like.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Those would be my top tips.
Great. Well, thank you, Carolyn. I mean, this is so helpful just to hear, just get a glimpse of how someone is using AI in their therapy practice. Obviously, you made mention that you have your EMDR coaching business. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about how people can find you and some of the resources that you have for folks?
Yeah. So my podcast is the Future Template Parent Podcast. We're at 150 episodes. So that's 3 years, which is
Great.
exciting. Oh, one more thing about AI. I'll tell you that at 100 episodes, I was like, I don't know if I can think of another episode.
Right.
And that was one of the things that got me to start using
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah. We're at
Anyway.
210 now. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And so listen to that. And I'm at Future Template Parent on Instagram. And those are the best ways. And I have a variety of ways that people can work with me. And I think intensives are future proofing your practice, is what I'll say. And that doesn't have to be EMDR. Well, that's my specialty. I also do some IFS and ketamine therapy. But we need to be offering, even as therapists, different ways of reaching people. People want different things now.
Yeah.
And if you're just doing good old, here's some coping skills, that's not gonna cut it.
Yeah. Time to level up.
Yeah. So all that, I mean,
Yeah.
and
Great.
I can I'll put my website, I'll give you my website link and all that stuff. Oh, and I do have a couple of freebies, speaking of.
Great.
For EMDR therapists, one of them is the intensive workbook that I use with my clients that I give to them before their 3-day intensive. That's free. I also have a little 5 things you can do to start marketing intensives. And I have a couple of those freebies I'm working on. One of them is actually about how to use AI in your marketing.
Awesome.
So,
Great.
yeah. But anyway.
Cool. Well, thank you, Carolyn, for your time. And we'll put all of the links in the show notes for this episode so that people can find all those great resources. So if you're listening and you're curious to learn a little bit more about Carolyn and offering intensives in your practice, we talked a little bit about, differentiating what you do and how you do it to stand out in this new marketplace. So definitely check those out. But if you are looking for help with your private practice, online marketing, website, SEO, you're looking to level that up and reach your ideal clients, I'd love to chat with you. So definitely head over to privatepracticeelevation.com/kickoff and schedule a free 15-minute call. Thanks so much, Carolyn, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to thank Alma for sponsoring this episode of the Private Practice Elevation podcast. A year from today, what would your dream private practice look like? Would you spend less time chasing claims or only working with clients who value your skill set? What if you had a network to reach out to for questions or free continuing education? What if you had more time for yourself? Alma empowers you to confidently accept insurance backed by an all-in-one EHR that simplifies scheduling, documentation, and day-to-day practice operations. With a network of engaged providers and free CE resources, Alma makes it easy for you to build the practice of your dreams on your terms. Alma believes that when therapists get the support they need, mental health care gets better for everyone. Learn more about Alma at helloalma.com/elevation. Your dream practice is closer than you think. Get started now and receive 2 free months at helloalma.com/elevation. Running a private practice can feel like a juggling act. You're the clinician, the scheduler, the biller, and even the IT department. Xanda makes it all easier. Xanda is practice management software built for health practitioners. It brings scheduling, telehealth, secure client notes, billing, AI, and payments into one easy-to-use system. Clients can book appointments online, receive automated reminders, and access a secure client portal while you manage everything from one dashboard. That means fewer administrative headaches and a smoother experience for everyone. If you're ready to spend less time on admin and more time with clients, visit privatepracticeelevation.com/Xanda to start your free trial.